pandemic.
One of the things that we may be seeing coming down the pike is indie TV, in the same way that you had indie movies at a certain point that were really big. And that was the only way that you could make a really cool, interesting, auteur-driven thing. I think that we may see in the next 10 years the emergence of indie TV as a sector that's doing just that.
I'd be shocked if that didn't happen. I was doing a Zoom session yesterday with a joint acting and directing class of students from my alma mater, Middlebury College in Vermont. And they were talking about, asking all the questions that everyone does. There's a sophomore girl who is interested in being a professional actress and, someday all this stuff. And how do you do it? And it seems so intimidating when you're at college, especially in the middle of nowhere, Vermont. But I was just comparing, I went to college 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago now, really aging myself. And at that time, there was one camera that you could check out for the whole school, for all students in film. And then there was one editing bay that was a tape-to-tape thing that you had to reserve, and you could only reserve it for 2-hour sections. And now I was like, you can make movies on your iPhone if you want to. The iPhone cameras are 10 times better than the cameras that we had to use when I was there. If you have friends who are talented that can act, and I saw some really good actors in that thing yesterday. And if you write something that's interesting, why can't you make it for $50 and post it online? Why wouldn't you? People are asking me, well, how do I be a writer? Well, the answer is simple. You write. How do I be an actor? Well, it's simple. You act. You get somebody to write something and you find a way to produce it. How do I direct? It's simple. You direct. And that used to be very hard and or very expensive to do. Yeah. Now it's not. So how is there not a rebellion away from the gatekeepers at networks and studios to some person in college getting together with some talented friends and saying, hey, I got an idea. Let me write some scripts and let's sort of film this on the weekend and let's post it. How does that not happen? I'm sure it's already is happening.
It's absolutely happening. I think it's just that it's scaling up and becoming potentially profitable. And that's the most exciting thing to me that I see changing in the industry now, where, entertainment is a business like any other. You've got a product and you need to create a product, and then you need a means of distribution for the product, and then you need customers for the product who will buy it. Well, it used to be that there were a very few number of customers, really, and there were and the cost to make it was so high that you needed really significant institutional backing. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, you can create a product, you can distribute it, you can, and then the only issue really becomes monetization. If you make it for cheap enough, then that might not necessarily matter. But there are ways. I see people, the Duplass brothers or whatever, make a little show, flip it to Netflix, flip it to Hulu, flip it to whoever, because they need stuff. And there's more than one game in town.
Well, I was a joint economics major in college, and they'd always talk about, what are the barriers to entry? And usually it's startup costs, right? You're trying to make 1,000 widgets, and the formula is, X being, how much it costs to build the equipment, and then it's, Y times 15 cents per each unit of widget. But the X would always be such a big number, it would be a barrier to entry for people. And that was true of trying to make a movie or trying to make a TV show 30 years ago. Now the barrier of entry, that X number is so small, it's so little, it's literally almost the time for you to get out of bed and put your phone on, or spend $250 to buy an actual pretty good camera, and then you can edit it on your laptop. I mean, these things, I'm so jealous of this generation. If I'd had access to that kind of equipment when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, I would have been out on the college quad filming shit every weekend.
Yeah. And I think that that's a really powerful takeaway, too, for those who are watching and who are on the way up, that even somebody who is, by any account, one of the most successful people inside the existing system is fully endorsing the idea to go and make your own stuff.
Well, that's how you get better.
100%.
I mean, as a writer, when I came out to Los Angeles in 1990, I lose count. I'm not sure if it's 16 or 17, but it's one of the two. Let's say 16. I wrote 16 spec scripts before I started getting hired for jobs and getting paid. Right? Some were comedies because I thought I might want to be a comedy writer. Some were dramas. But I kept writing and writing and writing. I kept writing because I was trying to get work. What I didn't know at the time, and I realize now, was that I was writing to become a better writer. So it eventually did lead to employment, but not because of anything other than I grew into the kind of writer that could be employed.
Thanks for checking out Pandemic, brought to you by Roadmap Writers and Notes for Execs. I'm Joel Silberman, and if you're interested in more intimate interviews with writers on writing, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share. Thanks very much, and stay safe.